Hey there, this is John from Heroes and Legends, and welcome to another edition of the Magic the Gathering Market Watch. So we are back. We weren't here last Saturday because we were doing the Modern Masters 2017 full set review. However, if you missed it on Wednesday, we did do a special edition of the Market Watch that focused just on Modern, and there was just so much turbulence at the time, and there still is, in the Modern market, that I wanted to do a special edition just focusing on that. Today, we're back to looking at Standard, Modern, and Legacy, and as you can imagine, there's a lot of big things going on. Now, quickly before we get started, a couple things. First off, if you check out the description below, you'll find a couple links to help support the channel. The first one is the Amazon affiliate store. If you make any purchases through those links to any seller on Amazon, a small percentage will come back to help support the channel. It really goes a long way. Thank you to everybody who pre-ordered their Modern Masters 2017 booster boxes through there. That helps so much. And secondly, you'll find Patreon. And we've updated our goals and our rewards on Patreon. You can get the details as to how to get one of these exclusive Heroes and Legends Angel tokens like you see on the screen here. Second thing I wanted to mention before we get into the cards is there was some weird turbulence in the market this week because there's a system, it's called Crystal Commerce, and it's basically a sales system that TCG Player uses, and it had an update in the beginning of last week, and during that update things started to really slow down, and TCG Player kind of pulled the plug on it. They were still able to do sales through it, but it wasn't going into the system and being kind of read as what the card values currently are, which means the market in general saw some drastic changes when that happened, and a lot of people read those changes as things were happening in the market and didn't realize that it was basically just a recording glitch. It is back online. It's been back online now for a couple days, and the prices you'll see today I've adjusted to try to circumvent the blip in the data, basically. So the prices you'll see today should be pretty realistic. However, a couple of things I want to say about that. The actual glitch itself did impact the market because people saw cards going up and going down all of a sudden, and they started either buying or selling based on those results, which actually did create a true impact on the market. And secondly, I won't go through like all the details as to the journey of a card this week like I normally do, just because some of the spikes or dips it saw probably were unnatural and just actually weren't really realistic. So I just want to throw that out there. If you're thinking of buying any big purchases and singles, I might wait a few more days just for the market to settle down a little bit. But now that that's out of the way, let's get into all the cards. We're going to start off with a Standard and the cards that lost value this week. So as you can imagine, what you're going to see here are a lot of the cards that maybe don't see as much play as they used to see, but for the most part, all of these still see Standard play. The other thing you have to think about at this point is we're actually getting kind of close to Amonkhet previews. Official previews will begin at the beginning of April, which is really a few weeks away now. So you're not going to find a lot of players interested in spending a lot of money on building a Standard deck at this point because things are about to change again. So let's look at number 5. It's Archangel Avacyn, down 88 cents to $13.87. Perfect example of a card that in its day saw a lot of play in blue-white flash decks, among other places. It's not completely out of the Standard scene by any means, and it has potential to come back in a big way at any time. But at this point, we're down a little bit, and you'll continue to see this card go down gradually over time if it doesn't get picked up by another big deck once the meta shifts. Coming in number 4 is Torrential Gearhulk, down 88 cents to $19.97. Kind of the same story here. Another all-star from Blue White Flash that is still seeing play, just not as much as it used to, and a lot more packs are getting open as time goes on. There were a lot of Kaladesh packs open, so even a Mythic is going to have a real hard time sticking to a $20 price point. It's going to continue to slide down. Even if it does see increased play, I think it will stabilize and slide down more. Coming in number 3, Virtuous Gearhulk, another one of the Gearhulks, down $1.13 to $19.14. Now this one was more of maybe the sweetheart of the Gearhulks for the current meta compared to the other 4. But even so, like I said, just the amount of packs that have been open, it's going to be really hard to keep a $20 price point. This card is going to continue to slip. Coming in at number 2 is Saheeli Rai, down $1.43 to $12.79. Does Saheeli see play? Of course she does. Actually, the copycat decks are still pretty healthy. The 4-color one is doing great, and it's being overshadowed. That's kind of the story of this deck all along. It's always being overshadowed by something else. There was huge hype going into the Pro Tour about the copycat combo, and this card spiked super hard. Then the Pro Tour comes along, and guess what? These decks get decimated on camera by Mardu vehicles. So casual players especially just steered clear of this deck at that point. But there were still a lot of players playing it. It was still putting up some good results. But again, right now the focus is on things like Mardu Ballista, the Golgari, various Golgari decks, Energy, Constrictor decks, those type of things. And right now she's just not in the spotlight. And again, a lot of packs have been opened, and even though she's mythic, she's going to continue to slide down. I think that's what we're going to continue to see with her. And finally, coming in at number 1, Heart of Kiran, down $1.94 to $20.46. Another mythic, this time from Ether Revolt. Again, we're getting to that point where a lot of packs of that are being opened too, so it's going to be real hard for this price point to stick, even though this card is seeing a lot of play. Now, granted, there was tons of hype around it during the Pro Tour time because of its performance in Mardu vehicles. It's still performing very well, but you got to expect for those two reasons, the fact that the hype is subsiding, folks are going to wait and see what's going to happen with the Amonkhet before they invest in a $20 card, and more packs are getting open. It makes a recipe for a lot of cards that start sliding down in value now. All right, let's look at the cards that gained value this week. And you will see cards here that see standard play, but a lot of these cards cross over into modern play, and that's where the excitement is right now. Everyone is focused on modern. We saw a couple really big GPs a few weeks ago, and then of course the Modern Masters 2017 reveal. So a lot of people are just focused on that format currently. And coming in at number 5 is Reality Smasher, up 11 cents to $3.47. So one thing you're going to notice about all of these cards today on the top 5, they're all rares, and they're all from sets that have been opened in extreme quantities. So even though the cards are seeing increased play, you're not going to see that much of an increase in value right now. Now, Reality Smasher, what's going on with that? I mean, it's not really seeing increased play in standard or anything like that. However, in the world of modern, it's showing up in Eldrazi Tron, Bant Eldrazi. Even in Legacy, this card will show up in colorless Eldrazi decks. And in Modern, too, another one is Death and Eldrazi. So there's a lot happening with this card in other formats other than Standard. But even so, the increase is pretty minimal. Coming in at number 4, Matter Reshaper. Almost the same story here, up 12 cents to $2.13. Again, modern decks like Eldrazi Tron and Bant Eldrazi, as well as the colorless Eldrazi Legacy deck driving the price here. Coming in at number 3 is Blooming Marsh, up 17 cents to $7.87. Actually, very healthy value for a Kaladesh rare, but it just goes to show you how good these fast lands can be, because not only are they seeing a lot of standard play, but many of them seeing modern play, and this is a perfect example of that. So here's a card that shows up in those Golgari decks that you're so used to seeing in Standard, Delirium, and Energy, and so on. However, in Modern, this has a place in Lantern Control, which is a very popular deck right now, not to mention a lot of big decks like Jund, Tron, Abzan, they're all running this card right now, which is pretty crazy to think. So yeah, this will maintain its value if nothing else for the time being, even though there's a lot in circulation. It's just very popular. Coming in at number 2 is Oath of Nissa, up 18 cents to $3.96. Now, unlike the other cards on the list, this one is more being pushed due to Standard than Modern, although it does see a little Modern play in like Velliku Breach decks. Really what's driving this, though, is 4-color Saheeli as well as the Delirium decks. Coming in at number 1 is Traverse the Ulvenwald, up 26 cents to $4, and you guessed it, another card that's seeing crossover play into Modern. Yes, in Standard, it has a healthy home in the Delirium decks, but also in Modern, you can find it in the Death's Shadow decks, which are very popular right now. Alright, feels weird saying this because I feel like we've already moved on to Modern, but let's move on to Modern. We're going to start off with the cards that lost value this week, and I won't be focusing on any of the Modern Masters 2017 cards today as far as their value, just because the set hasn't come out yet, and you'll find that the values during a pre-release time period can swing very drastically, so I don't want to put out any bad information that's going to change immediately. So the cards you're going to see on these two lists today will be cards that already exist in Modern. In many cases, of course, they will be the cards that are being reprinted in Modern Masters 2017. And that's what you're going to find here. Cards that lost value, some cards that are getting reprints. They'll be coming out in a week from now. But also, you're going to find a couple cards that have spiked really hard recently that are stabilizing back down. Coming in number 5, Liliana of the Veil, down 308 to 84.99. Here's the thing with Lily. She's going to go down. She's going to continue to go down, especially once packs start getting cracked next weekend. But she's not going to go down as drastically as maybe some of the other cards we're going to see on the list today. Because, let's face it, the market was kind of expecting this. It would have been a shock for a lot of people if she was not in Modern Masters 2017. So the market has been adjusting all along. At one point, she was over $100. And then, of course, the promo came out, which stabilized her a little bit. And then the market started to brace itself as it got closer and closer to Modern Masters, just assuming she would be in there. And because of that, you will see a decline. She will continue to decline. And if you want a cheap version of her, of course, the Modern Masters version will be the more budget way to go once you can get your hands on that. But she's not going to completely crash. Coming in at number 4 is Karn Liberated from New Phyrexia, down $5.50 to $70.98. You may wonder to yourself, well, Karn didn't get reprinted. What's he doing here? The bottom line is this card was extremely hot over the last few weeks because of the fact that Eldrazi Tron was just a huge focus point for a lot of players, not to mention the regular Tron. Ever since the meta shift after the last bannings, especially with Gitaxian Probe in particular that caused this, the Tron deck has just become more and more popular. And Karn has been really spiking hard. So Karn's going to stabilize a little bit down this week, but there's more to the story to be continued. Coming in number 3 is Scalding Tarn, down 606 to 66.26. So the fetch lands, this is the only one you'll see in particular on our top 5 today, but they are all going down in value. You can tell this one has lost a lot of value over the last couple weeks. It's going to continue to lose value considering these are being reprinted in the rare spot. And yes, you do have to take into account we don't know exactly what print runs are going to look like for Modern Masters 2017 at this point. Speculation is that they're going to be pretty high, and that's what I'm thinking as well. And when I say high for one of these sets. So probably comparable, maybe a little more than Eternal Masters, which was actually pretty high for a limited set. It's not going to be a standard set, though. So at the end of the day, my prediction for these fetch lands will be, I don't think they're going to get quite as low as, say, where the Khan's fetch lands are right now, because they're still, even though they're going up in price, are still relatively low due to the amount that they printed. Print run won't be quite that high. So I see these settling in maybe between $20 and $40 depending on the fetch land. This one would be, of course, one of the higher ones. But as more packs get opened, and as I should say packs start getting opened, these will continue to go down. Coming in at number 2 is Mishra's Bauble, down 706 to 36.96. Again, another card that was not reprinted in Modern Masters 2017. Why is it coming down? Just because it spiked so hard over the last few weeks, especially it got a lot of attention in decks like Lantern Control, for example, among others that we saw in the GPs. And here's what's awkward about this card. It is a uncommon from Cold Snap. Really, this thing could be reprinted at any time, quite honestly. The only thing that holds it back from a lot of standard sets is its name because of flavor reasons. But aside from that, I mean, it could show up if we ever went back to Dominaria in a standard set. Also, it could show up perhaps in just any supplemental product you could imagine. A commander deck, a dual deck, perhaps even whatever a summer set they put out, kind of like a conspiracy. So this is very fragile at this point. And I do think if it does get reprinted, it would be reprinted at the uncommon level. I don't think it would go up to rare or anything like that necessarily. So because of that, a lot of players are going to get a little gun shy about investing in any deck that's running like 4 of these once they're up to around the $40 price point. And that's why you're seeing it start to retract a little bit now. It will go down a little more, but I think it will stabilize somewhere between the $20 and $30 range before there's another reprint sometime in the future. And coming in at number 1, we got the trifecta here. Tarmogoyf. All 3 versions have lost significant value this week due to the fact, of course, that it's seeing a reprint Modern Masters 2017. The original Modern Masters version down 328 to 115.53. Future Sight down 355 to 136.44. And Modern Masters 2015 down 714 to 109.99. The big difference between this card and Liliana is the fact that the market wasn't prepared for this one. Some sellers maybe expected it. I was expecting it, honestly, if you watch my videos, but a lot of folks thought, well, it probably won't show up in 3 Modern Masters sets in a row. They'll replace this with Lily as kind of the crown jewel card and call it a day. That didn't happen. It got the reprint and sellers started to scramble a little bit, and you're starting to see some big decreases in value right now. Again, the card's very healthy as far as the competitive format. It's very high played, and this will be a chance for players to pick up some copies of it, which is pretty interesting. Again, this will continue to go down. You see a lot of sellers scrambling. If you look at some big marketplaces, you can probably find better values than you even see here on the screen right now. And also, once packs get cracked, like I've been saying, they will continue to go down. I think you'll be able to pick up Modern Masters 2015, maybe even original Modern Masters versions of this card for under $100 at some point soon, if not already, quite honestly. And that's actually pretty exciting. Not to mention the fact that the new version will also be probably a little cheaper than the other existing ones as well. The Future Sight one will do its best to hold its value because it has the unique card frame, but even that will decrease a little bit. All right, let's move on to the cards that have gained value in Modern this week. And we're going to see a lot of cards that weren't reprinted that probably really need reprints, whether it's in Modern Masters or somewhere else. And this means a lot of the folks that were waiting to pick up the cards when they realized they weren't going to be reprinted just went ahead and bit the bullet and did it because they don't know when some of these cards will be reprinted. Some of them are very difficult cards to reprint because of their mechanics or their theming. Coming in number 5 is Crucible of Worlds, up 367 to 58.95. Now, in the past, it was easy to say that this card is a great casual card. It's awesome in Commander. It sees vintage play, sometimes a little legacy play, but it wasn't really a modern card. Well, times have changed. This card is actually in 2 very popular modern decks at this point, Eldrazi Tron being one of them, as well as Lantern Control. So when you have big decks like that running this card, congratulations, it's a modern card now, and it really needs a reprint in some capacity, although, again, it didn't show up in Modern Masters 2017. We don't know when it will show up, maybe a future Eternal Masters, something like that, but this will continue to climb now for a while. Coming in at number 4, Karn Liberated from Modern Masters 2015, up $3.70 to $68.44. So this gives you a good idea of what Karn's doing right now in the market and how popular this card is. Players are comfortable spending around $70 for this card. We saw the new Phyrexia version go down to get closer to the $70 price point. This one's going up to get closer to the $70 price point. It's kind of where this card's landing right now. Coming in at number 3, Mox Opal from Modern Masters 2015, up $4 to $61.60. All right, so Pure Steel Paladin isn't appearing to be shaking out as a top tier deck. However, it doesn't matter for this card because it's in Affinity, it's in Lantern Control, and that's enough for this card to be very popular, not to mention all the vintage play it sees. Coming in at number 2, Through the Breach, up $12.17 to $59. This is one of those cards that's probably going to be difficult to find a place to reprint due to the split onto Arcane mechanic on it, and it missed its real opportunity, which was the first Modern Masters where they actually used that mechanic. And at this point, it didn't show up in 2017, so a lot of players that were waiting to see if it was going to be there are just investing in it now. And coming in at number 1, Fulminator Mage. And a couple versions of this, Modern Masters 2015 up $11.73 to $31.84, with the Shadowmoor version up $16.93 to $39. Shadowmoor rares are harder and harder to find all the time. Modern Masters, at least it did get a reprint in 2015 as a rare, so that was a good thing for this card. But this is just extremely popular right now. Great sideboard card, showing up in a number of huge modern decks. Actually, it's just showing up in almost anything that's running these colors at this point, it feels like. This card is just everywhere, and it did spike really hard, so I am expecting a little bit of a snapback. But long-term growth, this card is going to continue to grow until they find a place to reprint it. All right, let's talk about Legacy. Now, Legacy's got a couple interesting blips this week that we'll look at. And there's one card that I'm actually kind of interested in because I do think it's sort of a good deal. For the most part, though, we'll see a lot of the usual suspects. So let's see what's lost value. Coming at number 5, the unlimited version of the Hive, down $6.21 to $49.95. Pretty normal for this card. It kind of sticks around the $50 mark. Obviously, if you just want a copy to play with in Commander or something, there's reprints that are cheaper, but some of the older versions will hold a little value. Coming in number 4, Angus Mackenzie, down $6.94 to $81.20. This is the one I was alluding to. Like, I feel like there's a lot of value in this card long term. It's an awesome, awesome Commander card. A lot of folks play this in Commander, as you can imagine. And I feel like $80, honestly, is a steal. So if you can find a copy of this anywhere for around that price point, I don't think that's a bad pickup. I think long term, I'm talking maybe a year or two, this is easily a $100 to $200 card, I think. Coming in number 3, Plateau from Unlimited, down $7.46 to $160.19. Number 2 is Diamond Valley, down $13.50 to $184. This is actually held relatively steady because we didn't do a market watch last week, and I assume it went up a little bit. This week it kind of came down almost to exactly where it was 2 weeks ago. And coming in at number 1, the Tabernacle at Pendrell Vale, down $41.43 to $1,215.08. This again just kind of hangs out around the $1,200 price point, so nothing unusual for this card. All right, let's look and see what has gained a value this week. Coming in number 5 is Candelabra of Tawnos, up $11.98 to $472.48. Number 4, Unlimited Badlands, up $14.15 to $149.95. Number 3, Gauntlet of Might from Unlimited, up $22.13 to $217. And I've been mentioning over the previous weeks, I think this card is just going to continue to grow, quite honestly. It might snap back a little bit with some of these drastic increases we've been seeing, but it is a reserve list card. Unlimited was the last time it was reprinted. I can see this still doing well in the future. Coming in number 2, Underground Sea from Unlimited, up $24.82 to $555.30. And finally, the big winner this week, number 1, Shazam Jin, up $25.14 to $479.41. Again, pretty normal for this card as it hangs out between $450 and $500 typically. Having said that, that is the Market Watch for this week. Hope you find it helpful. And until next time, hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like and subscribe. And have a great day. Hey, thanks for watching. This video is made possible by the generous support of viewers like you on Patreon. Check out the description below for links to our Patreon page as well as our Amazon affiliate store, where a small percentage of all sales will also help support the channel. Finally, if you haven't had a chance yet to subscribe, hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any new videos on Heroes and Legends. Talk to you again soon, and have a great day.